Welcome to this captivating tale from the Mahabharata, one of India's greatest epics. Today, we delve into the story of the Golden Mongoose, a profound narrative that teaches us the true meaning of sacrifice and selflessness. This story beautifully contrasts grandeur and simplicity, showing that true greatness lies not in wealth or rituals, but in the purity of one's heart and the intent behind every action. So, sit back and let us journey into the halls of King Yudhisthira and discover the timeless lessons of this tale. After the great war of Kurukshetra, Yudhisthira, the eldest of the Pandavas, became the king of Hastinapur. He was a virtuous ruler who wanted to ensure the welfare of his people. To celebrate his victory and to thank the gods, he decided to perform a grand yagna. The preparations were magnificent, and the entire kingdom was abuzz with excitement. Lavish gifts were distributed to the poor, and thousands of people were fed during the ceremony. Everyone hailed Yudhisthira as the most generous and righteous king. However, amidst the celebration, something unusual happened. As the guests and priests admired the grandeur of the yagna, a small mongoose entered the hall. The mongoose was peculiar. Half of its body shone like pure gold, while the other half appeared ordinary. It started rolling on the floor, rubbing itself against the ashes from the sacrificial fire. Everyone stared at it in confusion. One of the priests asked, "What are you doing, little mongoose? Why are you rolling on the ground?" The mongoose looked up and spoke, to everyone's astonishment. "I am trying to turn the rest of my body golden, but it seems this yagna is not powerful enough to do so." King Yudhisthira stepped forward, visibly hurt by the mongoose's words. "What do you mean? This yagna has been performed with utmost devotion and generosity. Thousands have been fed, and countless gifts have been given to the needy. Why do you say it is not powerful enough?" The mongoose replied, "O king, I mean no disrespect, but let me tell you a story. After hearing it, you will understand what true sacrifice is. Long ago, in a small village, there lived a poor family. The family consisted of a man, his wife, their son, and their daughter-in-law. They were extremely poor and barely managed to survive. Despite their poverty, they were kind and pious people who believed in helping others, no matter how little they had. One year, a terrible famine struck their village. Food was scarce, and their family struggled even more than usual. One day, the father managed to obtain a small amount of rice after great effort. They were overjoyed and decided to cook the rice for their evening meal. As the family sat down to eat, there was a knock at their door. The father opened it to find a weary traveler standing there. The traveler looked exhausted and hungry. "Please, kind sir," the traveler said, "I have not eaten in days. Could you spare some food?" The father hesitated for a moment. He knew how little they had, but his heart went out to the traveler. "Of course," he said, inviting the man inside. He offered his own portion of rice to the traveler. The traveler ate gratefully, but still looked hungry. The father's wife noticed this and said, "How can we eat when our guest is still hungry?" She took a share of rice and offered it to the traveler. The son, seeing his parents' actions, said, "It is my duty to uphold the honor of my family. I cannot eat while our guest is starving." He gave his portion to the traveler. Finally, the daughter-in-law, inspired by her family's selflessness, said, "I too wish to be part of this noble act. Please take my share as well." She gave her portion to the traveler. The traveler, now fully satisfied, thanked them profusely and left. The family, though hungry, felt immense joy in their hearts for having helped someone in need. Unknown to the family, the traveler was not an ordinary man. He was a god who had come to test their virtues. After leaving their house, he revealed his true form and blessed them, saying, "Your selflessness and kindness are unparalleled. You have performed the greatest sacrifice of all. I grant you liberation from the cycle of life and death." Meanwhile, a mongoose happened to wander into the house after the traveler had left. It accidentally brushed against some of the leftover food. To its amazement, the side of its body that touched the food turned golden. The mongoose exclaimed, "This is no ordinary food. It carries the divine power of sacrifice." Since that day, the mongoose had been traveling the world, searching for another act of sacrifice as pure and selfless as that of the poor family. It had visited countless yagnas and ceremonies, but had never found anything that matched their deed. The mongoose concluded its story, saying, "I came here hoping that your yagna, King Yudhisthira, would equal the sacrifice of that family, but it has not. Despite all its grandeur, this yagna lacks the purity and selflessness of their act. That is why the rest of my body remains unchanged." The assembly hall fell silent as everyone absorbed the mongoose's words. Yudhisthira was deeply moved. He said, "I understand now. True sacrifice comes from the heart and is not measured by wealth or grandeur. It is the intent and the willingness to give everything, even in the face of great hardship, that makes a sacrifice truly great." The mongoose smiled and said, "You have understood the essence of my story, O king. Remember, the greatest acts of virtue often come from the humblest of hearts." With those words, the mongoose vanished. This story from the Mahabharata teaches us that the value of a sacrifice lies not in its scale, but in its sincerity. It reminds us to act with kindness and selflessness, no matter how little we have. True greatness is found in the purity of our hearts and the depth of our compassion. Let us strive to live with humility and learn from the virtues of others, even the humblest creatures like the golden mongoose.